Hello everyone, how are you doing? My name is Joan Mugenzi, an employment transition coach and author of the book Corporates at a Crossroads, knowing that your job is yet eternal and acting on that knowledge. I'm here to share some really exciting news with you. If you have a copy of my book, you, my friend, will have an opportunity to experience the masterclass that we run. And what will it cost you? It is absolutely free. Yes, you heard me right. It is absolutely free. All I ask of you is to give me your time, grab a copy of the book, and let's dive in. What really inspired me to start this masterclass was to give back, because my life is a beneficiary of the different books that I've read, the different experiences that I've had, and also the experiences that I've had people share with me. And I just thought that what if I put a class together that would enable my readers to experience something different, to enable them be able to put into practice the things that they read. And of course, for you to be able to have something that is very meaningful out of this journey, I would ask you to also find an accountability partner if you don't have one already. The reason for this is simple. On one of the social media platforms that I am on, someone posted and said, I want someone to hold my hand and teach me how to make money the way my mama taught me how to peel matoke. I am tired of motivational speakers and books that excite you and leave you there. And I remember responding and saying, there is nothing wrong with the motivational speakers. There is nothing wrong with the books. The only constant factor there is the reader. And then I kept on wondering, how can one create something that can enable a reader to put into practice the things that they are reading so that they not leave them in a book? And that's how I started my journey as a motivational trainer. In this case, motivational training simply enables you to honor your intentions. And as a result of that, there are so many experiences that I came across and I thought, wow, why not write a book? And those are the experiences that you find in this book, the experiences that you will be able to identify with. I don't know where you are in terms of your journey, but I'm sure there is something that will come out for you, something that you will connect with, and you'll be able to walk a better journey. Whether you are going to involuntarily retire, involuntarily leave just because the Employment Act says that you should leave, or you would voluntarily leave and decide, it is time up for me, or in the next 5 years, I want to stop. Of course, part of what has also groomed me as an individual are the different books that I have read, the different conferences that I've attended, the different trainings that I have attended. And the trick is simple. The trick is in implementing the things that you pick. So as we start on this journey, do you have an accountability partner? Because without one, it will be a daunting task. If this sounds exciting to you and you don't have the book yet, please get a copy for yourself on Amazon.com. Otherwise, we are going to go through the book chapter by chapter. You are welcome to journey with me. The rest of the exercises that we are going to do through this masterclass will depend on how clearly you define your state. Where are you right now? Could you be a Paul? Could you be David, the medical doctor? Are you Claire, the senior manager? Or are you Christopher, who comes into the country and is trying to figure out how to fit his transitioning in his career from a totally different context into a new context? It is very important that you get that right, because once you assess yourself and understand at what stage are you right now, it is going to help you in your journey. Remember, we are working on something that is very sensitive. You're honoring you. I just told you that I read books, people's books that helped me, and I still continue on my journey to be the best version of me. I'm not yet there, but those words keep me going. And therefore, I want you to be the best version of yourself. Let's think about what Oprah Winfrey says about purpose when I quote her on page 21 of my book. Of course, it's still page 21 for your ebook. The biggest adventure you can ever take is to live a life of your dreams. Have you actually documented your dreams? Then Peter Sage says this: as humans, we are wired for the hunt. We are wired for adventure. Can you think about that? Is your life an adventure? Are you living a life of your dreams? Or do you actually dream to be one of those that would live a life of their dreams? When I begin the introduction of my book, I share how an exercise that I picked from Jack Canfield's Success Principles influenced my life in 2010. And I want to carry this exercise with me into this space. But remember, it will only serve you well if you have a very good understanding of where you are. Because when you read the characters in the book, they will help you get a better visualization of yourself. So get a notebook. And this is an assignment that I would want you to do. And as you're doing it, probably find an accountability partner that can journey with you. What are the 101 things you want to do before you die? And at this point, let me use an illustration, the Journey of Life tool that I designed, that I use in the Masterclass to help people think through their journey. So this is the Journey of Life tool that I demonstrate in terms of a graph, okay? Journey of Life. This life starts at the time when you're born, which we plot at 0, and it comes at a time when you certainly die and cross over to the other world. And when I am explaining the tool, which I want you to really understand, is to think about how your life has been from the time you were 0 up to the point where we are now, which is 2020, okay? 2020. And we are also mindful of the fact that there is a time when we are retiring, the involuntary retirement that we are talking about. It's a time for you to depart because the law says so, because your organization says so. That is the time at which you retire, and I would use 55 for most of the organizations. Of course, when you're in government, we are talking about 60 and probably 70 when you're in the legal structures. But then, what if you had an opportunity to engage your maker, and your maker asked you, at what age would you be ready to die? At what age would you be ready to come home? What age would that be? I want you to think about it. What age would that be? That's the age that we are going to plot here. And for purposes of this masterclass, I'm going to use 80, which was the average age that we had in the most recent class that we used. So I'm putting 80 there. But what we are going to pay attention to is this portion here, between now, 2020, and when you're going to turn 55. So that's up to you. You know what age you are now. If, for example, you're 25, you still have another 30 years to go. If you're 40, you have another 15 years to go. You might be 50 or even 55. So what we are going to look at is to ask ourselves, what are the things that we want to focus on in this period, okay? And remember the exercise that we just did about Jack Canfield on the success principles, the 101 things that you want to accomplish before you die. This is the period at which you're going to majorly focus on them. The things that happen here, given that this is a video, I don't want to really dwell so much on this because it's also another interesting insight that you can have. But you can look back and simply say, what has life offered you over the years? And now, because we are starting life now in 2020, this is where we draw the line to say, okay, imagine me. By the way, this is where the name of our company is drawn. Imagine Me Africa. It is about you, your imagining self. I want you to really pay careful attention as you work through this process, because these are things that are going to energize you moving forward. But as we think about the imagination, you're imagining yourself up to the point at which you're going to die. Whether that age is going to be 70 or 80 or 90 or 100, whatever age it is that you're talking about, that is up to you to think through, and probably with your accountability partner if you're going to work on this exercise together. What is the difference between 55 and 80, or whatever age you're putting here, is also another aspect that I want you to pay attention to. We have a whole 25 years to live, okay? Between 55 and 80. What does that mean? That whatever it is that you're doing right now, when you're energetic, because what we are really focusing on are your energetic years. Between now and the time you die, this is going to impact on the 25 years. Right now, remember I said your job is not eternal. So now, right now, because you have your job, you have a paycheck. If you're self-employed, you have the energy. When they call you and they say, hey, come here, we want you for a meeting, guess what? You're going to just get going and then you'll be in for that meeting. But that time will come when that energy level would drop. So when it drops, what are you going to be doing? It means you need to utilize your energetic years now so that they will serve you in the 25 years. So yes, do that exercise. Remember, I'm talking about your 101 dreams. And what we are really looking at here is that these are simply highlights, okay? Highlights that we are plotting. What are your highs? What are your lows that you might think about on this side? But moving forward, these are the highlights as you live the years of my life, okay? I hope we are getting that clearly in terms of what you're doing. Because this is the exercise that you're going to work with your accountability partner and those other people that you draw in so that you're able to think through. Right now, ask yourself, am I a Paul, privileged, flying the world, being able to afford anything that I really want, but then your job has all of a sudden been threatened? What are you going to do at this point? Or are you David? You've just discovered that your money is just falling through and you're thinking about the things that you want to be able to do. So it all starts with that character that you're identifying with, the character you identified with in chapter 1. You're carrying that character into this exercise and move forward. How I wish I was with you in the room and hear some of the activities that you're thinking about. Of course, when you're thinking about the 101 things, think about who would you like to be? What would you like to have? Okay, what are the things that you want to see different? What legacy would you want to have? All those will help you in terms of crafting your 101. And please do not look at your limitations. Sometimes when we've done this exercise, I've seen people who basically block their mind. They don't want to put their creative space in action because they are thinking, well, when I look at my paycheck right now, it cannot afford me this. That is not the idea here. We are just putting your creative juices in use. And after you have done all that, I want you to just think, what are your top 10 things that you want to work on? Because you would have looked at the 101, you're able to kind of begin sieving through, and those 10 things might give you a starting point. Sometimes you might even ask yourself, what is the one thing that I want to first focus my energies on? Because of the limitation that we have, of course, for the video and a bit of the masterclass right now, I can't take you through the exercise of prioritization to get to the 10, but at least work with your accountability partner to sieve through some of the things. So yes, I hope this has given you an interesting basis for us to jump and dive into chapter 2. Now that you've done the exercise of the top 10 things that energize you, let's begin thinking about your journey of preparation. Remember, dreams are not just going to be fulfilled without you doing anything. The starting point is preparation, and that's what chapter 2 is about. Chapter 2 has quite a number of amazing things, but I want to specifically highlight the aspect of ghost hours. I'm using the ghost hours as a key point of emphasis here because for many of you that have this book, most likely you're still in employment. And so you're thinking, how else can I enrich myself? How can I work on the things that I need to work on? The ghost hour concept will help you. For instance, in 2014, when I decided that I was going to quit employment in 2017, I chose to use the ghost hours to work on my different tools and processes that I was going to work with. Actually, during that time, that I developed the Journey of Life tool that we just used. But given that you have the book, I will just let you read it, understand the concept of ghost hours, know how to map them so that they can serve you. Okay, so just honoring the book, that you read it, internalize, and then you begin working on that journey towards fulfilling the 101 things that you want to achieve before you die. Now that you have embarked on this journey with your shopping list of dreams, I just want to emphasize that it is a journey. Do not be in a hurry. Do enough preparation in order for you to enjoy this journey. Your journey is going to be different for you. It will be different for your accountability partner, just as it has been different for me. Another interesting thing is that you're starting. You're consciously beginning and setting out on this journey. Chapter 3 is that chapter that I really love because it talks about investing in self. There is no dream that you're going to fulfill minus this important component of investing in yourself. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that my journey has been a journey of investment. I invested in Jack Canfield, not just in his book, but also in his training program. I am a certified Jack Canfield Success Principles trainer. And some of the things that you're going to read in this book are principles that are embedded in here. And that's why I really love this journey. It's been a journey of learning, investing in self, but I'm also using this time to definitely share what I have. Of course, I want to congratulate you, my friend. I celebrate you. The reason you're able to follow through this video is because you have invested in the copy of this book, Corporates at a Crossroads. And that's why I was excited when I was beginning to think about this masterclass, to give back to you. What an interesting season in which I'm giving back. I mean, I used the lockdown to think of what gift could I offer to the world, because we have been in a season where everybody is thinking, where is the next paycheck coming from? You know, what is happening in the world? The news around us has been news of gloom, and I just thought, no, we need something different. And that's why I chose to honor each one of you. So those of you who have invested in this book, thank you so much. If you're following with a friend, please get a copy for yourself so that you're able to follow through and be able to meaningfully manage the activities in chapter 3. Okay? So let's think about what is that one dream that you want to honor? How are you going to work through it? If you don't invest in yourself, it will be very difficult for you to manage that process. And that's why a number of the nuggets that you're going to find in this chapter, or as you've already read, you realize that they are giving you ideas in terms of how you're going to improve yourself. Let me put a little bit of context here. When I chose to get into the personal development space, and I chose that I wanted to be an employment transition coach, I had to purposefully decide what kind of investment was I going to make in myself. And therefore, I chose a program. I chose to go for professional coaching, and I specifically chose the program of transformative coaching because I knew I'm dealing with people's minds, and it's a space I choose to honor. When I realized that people come to me with their dreams, they come to me with a lot of anxieties, and I'm thinking, how do I lift them? How do I lift their perspectives? Then I thought, okay, the best thing here to do is to honor the space, invest in myself, and go for a training program. I'm in the Master Certified Coach program with the Coach Masters Academy. The Master Certified Coach is the highest level of coaching that you can get in terms of training. Within the International Coaching Federation, we have those layers, and the Master Certified Coach is the highest level. And I'm so glad that I'm in this class because there's learning that is happening on a daily basis. As I encounter my clients, as I engage them on a day-to-day basis, I can see that my journey is improving on a daily basis. It is not about going for a course of 2 hours, 3 hours, and I call myself a coach, because I realize it's not enough. I cannot use 2 hours or 3 hours to just say that, okay, fine, now I'm really empowered. You cannot be empowered within 2 hours and 3 hours. You get nuggets out of that. And I hope that you also, depending on what field you're choosing, you're going to be able to get to a point of asking yourself, what else can I invest in? Are you an invest planner? What can you invest in that can make you top of the mind brand, that people will always remember you for what it is that you're doing? Are you in catering? What can you use to spice up your trade so that when you show up, you're indeed showing up differently? It will not just come overnight. It will be a journey of learning. You need to learn and think about that. This reminds me, one of the other investments that I made that I've always found interesting to date is when I decided to go and shadow a multi-million-dollar CEO, Julian Killer. Actually, with him, I don't really want to get so much into the details that are in here. But when you read, look at the nuggets that he gives. And one of the ones that I really love is the one on incubation. Your idea might be at that ideation process, and therefore you need an incubation process. The nuggets from him were really amazing nuggets, and I hope you can find something useful that you can integrate in your own journey, because I believe as we learn from these people, let me just even call him your mentor in this book. When you pick nuggets from him, he's been there, done that, you're able to pick something that you can use. And here I'm calling him a mentor, and I came into this space as a coach. There's a difference between a mentor and a professional coach. Your mentor has been there, done that. Think about your coach as the thinking buddy. And think about it this way. When you come, whatever you're giving us, we love using the metaphor of an iceberg. We are not going to dig into it, but we are going to think about how do we lift this iceberg together so that we pull out the things that are going to make sense for you. It will elevate your perspective. So I hope that by the time you're through with this chapter on investing in self, on understanding the different aspects that relate to you, that you would honor your space, you will honor the dreams that are going to give you sleepless nights, wonderful sleepless nights, because dreams cannot keep you in one place unless, of course, you have decided to pick the obvious things as your dream. Whatever you do, you want to become a top-of-mind brand. When I chose to get into the space of personal development, I had to become very clear, what do I really want to be known for? What is the contribution that I need to make? Whereas as a professional coach, I can basically coach anyone that comes my way. I chose to focus on employment transition. And the reason is simple. I had thought about a number of people that always crossed over from employment and then they would struggle settling in. Sometimes when we would listen to motivational speakers, they would not connect. I wouldn't connect with them, not because their message was not right, but because they were not probably the motivational speaker for me in that space. I therefore asked myself, who speaks to the corporate person? When the corporate person is stuck, who kind of understands their space? And that's how I decided to get into employment transition and picked keen interest. Keen interest in the sense that you're looking at someone who has so many perks around them. You have a very comfortable paycheck. You have perks to accomplish that. You have travels to as many countries as possible because of the nature of your job. Probably you're an expatriate. You're somewhere far off, drawn away from the structures that would be supportive to you. And so in this chapter, I really look at the aspects of how do you build a brand that will place you where you need to be. In my case, when I realized I want to focus on employment transition, I then asked myself, what is the best thing that I can do? That's why I said in the previous chapter that I chose to invest in coaching as a journey, not a one-off. I didn't want to go for a 2-hour, 3-hour session on coaching and call myself a coach. I wanted to be immersed in this process, the transformative coaching that I give, so that I'm able to delve deeper, to draw out things. I am a Christian and I love the Bible. One of the scriptures that stands out in Proverbs, I think it's Proverbs 25, it talks about drawing from somebody, that within us is a deposit. We have a deposit of resources within us, but someone of understanding must draw that out. Now, for me as a Christian, of course, the Bible is one of those books that have really impacted my life as a Christian. When I came across that scripture the first time, I told myself I need to honor people's space. If the deposit, if the greatest advice is within them, and a person of understanding must draw it out, I told myself I can't gamble in this space. I can't try to rely on my experiences to try and support people. So in this chapter, as you're becoming a top of mind brand, you're going to look at things like building your niche. At the moment, I'm on that journey of building my niche. Of course, part of building my niche is to give back as much as possible that I can contribute to society. That's why I thought that when I write my book, I need to give out a class that people can think about. Other people impacted my life. They motivated me through their words and they changed me. And remember the story, the person who said they were tired of motivational speakers and books that were not serving them. In actual sense, the constant factor there is you, the individual. Every time you read a book, every time you listen to a speaker, what are you doing with that information? I usually tell my friends that I don't pick the next book until I'm very clear in terms of the 2-3 things that I'm implementing as a result of the book that I'm currently reading. You're going to find things on how do you purpose to focus? How do you invest in your area of focus? How do you build a personal ecosystem? Because you actually need that personal ecosystem. Without it, you can't do much. And you also need movers and shakers. Who are these? As you flip through the pages, you definitely understand that. And the greatest of them all, you must master the game of building networks. Interesting that as I talk through this, I just went through the Harvard Business School series. And one of the series that we've handled is leveraging your networks. When I went through that, I realized how much I have done a disservice to myself as far as building networks is concerned. I'm grateful that even during the COVID-19 lockdown, I was able to be enrolled in a class that, by the way, was free. That's why I know I can freely give even now, because somebody is depositing in me. How do you leverage your networks? Because there's a lot to add. You know, here in this book, we're sharing experiences. For those of you in Uganda and those in the tourism industry, probably the name Amos Wekesa rings a bell. He's one of those people that talks about the kind of networks that we need, and I quote him in this book. So you can find a piece of his mind, the ideas that he shares in his book, even as we wait for his book. So Amos, if you come across this video, we are still waiting for your book. You have a lot to contribute. So let's see what is in chapter 5. Chapter 5 is about that subject that we all love, the subject of money, personal finances. I'm not going to dwell a lot on this because probably you already know a lot about personal finance, but there are aspects that I share in this book that need to help you to understand, especially where your money goes. You're receiving quite a bit of money, you're not sure where it goes, you will deal with your leakages, but above all, you need to create personal discipline. So probably what I will encourage you to do, find people with whom you can have a frank conversation with about money. Because as you transition, money is one of those aspects that you need to master. We also run personal finance stewardship classes. So sometimes if you want, you can organize yourselves and we can definitely come to you. We can have a virtual training, we can have a face-to-face training, because a lot of the activities we do under personal finance are practical scenarios. So for you who has this book, just think through the exercises that are given in this book. Chapter 6 is about exiting. And it is in this chapter that the name of the book, Corporates at a Crossroads, is drawn. Because when it's time to exit, you're really at a crossroads. You're trying to think, which way should I go? And in this place, of course, I want to talk about the two categories. It could be involuntary departure, you've reached your retirement age, or it could be voluntary, like me. You've decided that, I'm taking this path, I need to quit. But it will come with its own emotions, because I still vividly remember the 3 months when I went through emotional turmoil. And I kept on thinking, my goodness, this is something that you need to sort out. I spoke to quite a number of different people, as you'll see in the book. But the most important thing for you here is to get to a point of clarity. Remember, you've been doing your preparation, you've done investments in yourself, you've done a lot of mental preparation, and now when you finally say you want to exit, you want to be very clear in terms of the things that you are going for. The decisions that you have to make at that point become very crucial. So go through that particular portion of the book with a clear focus. What am I going to do? What do I really want? Think about the best case scenario and worst case scenario as you read in the book to determine how you're going to step out, because chapter 7 is about starting out. Don't be fooled. Challenges await you, but it is fun. Definitely when you step out, I can guarantee you there is a lot that happens in this space. There is a lot that I've discovered after making the crossover. You know, what you see is not exactly what you get sometimes. And that's why I've decided to be very honest in my journey as I document my experiences, as I run the masterclass with many people, as I'm invited to give talks. Because many times people paint for you a glamorous picture. But look, remember, when we go back to Paul, when we go back to Claire, when you go back to David and Christopher, the ones that I asked you to align yourselves with, they had positional power. Can you imagine leaving your power behind? Do you know what that means? Do you know what it means when nobody is calling you? Do you know what it means when all of a sudden you realize that you have to go to a fuel station and fuel your car? Yet you used to have a fuel card, that's all you required. Do you know what it means to begin loading airtime for yourself on the phone? Whether it's a postpaid or a prepaid process, you're now picking your own money to service that process. These perks that you're leaving behind have an implication in terms of how you start out. But also it's about understanding what kind of relationships are you going to have? How do you build your business acumen? Is everyone that talks to you actually honest? You're going to find people who will have contracts with you and probably not honor them. You might not even know how to go about a bidding process. Who are the people that are going to support you in that process? So starting out, really, interestingly, when I was writing this book, the time I wrote starting out, I hadn't stepped out. So there's a lot that I have gathered over time that will probably show up in my next book, because I intend to write another book about this journey so that I equip you even further as you go through this process. Chapter 8, Thriving versus Surviving. Define your own success. That is the basis for this chapter. If you do not define your success and choose to be carried away by what others define as success, that will be a recipe for your failing. And as you walk through that journey, if you really want to be successful in the things that you have chosen to focus on, remember some of them will be coming from your 101 dream list, your shopping list for life. Remember to invest in professionals and let them do their work. Because if you don't do that, you're going to mess up quite a lot. The professionals have ideas in terms of how you can handle the different things that you're going to do. If you're running a business, for example, don't choose to be an accountant for your company when you have no clue what the debit might be, what a credit might be. Just get someone to come and organize your books. Get people that you work with. Some of them might be on a full-time basis. Some of them might be associates. But what you're really looking at is to say, how do I set myself up? How do I do the different things that I need to do? So it is important that you equip yourself. Of course, when you thrive, then I hope you're going to have an enjoyable retirement, which is our chapter 9. You need to retire well. Retiring well would mean that if you have invested in your purpose, if you have done the things that you need to do, if you have invested in that journey, then yes, you're going to enjoy your retirement. In some of our sessions, we work with retirees, and these retirees tend to tell us that they're enjoying life because they prepared. Of course, if you didn't prepare, it will be a miserable undertaking. So thank you so much for being part of this masterclass. I hope you've been able to pick something. Remember, the masterclass is always a day. I had to figure out how to shorten and give you my gift in a shorter version.